So why do some people switch from Android over to iPhone? Statistics don't lie, it's been happening more and more over the last couple of years, and I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to answer this question, not only because it happened to me, but because I think I'm one of the only people on YouTube that's actually challenged people in real life to go from Android to iOS. I've done it on this channel. If you've not seen those videos, what are you doing? I'll leave a link in the description below. But I've learned a tremendous amount through my experience and their experiences as to why some people will actually switch. Because if you spend a lot of time in one ecosystem, you kind of get used to it. Why would you ever leave it? There's a ton of reasons why this is happening. And yes, before you ask, I will be doing it the opposite direction in another video. So hit that subscribe button if you're interested in that. But for today, we're going to talk about why some people will leave an Android phone for an iPhone. And we'll talk all about it right after this.
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. Today we're going to talk about why some people will leave their favorite Android phone and switch to an iPhone. So let's get into the video. To be clear, I think there's actually two levels to this. There's the, I'll actually try it, and then the, I think I'm going to stay. I think those are two different things. And the reality is, without those two things, then people would go over and then come back or never go over at all. And to be honest, most of this really applies to the United States. I know that overseas, there's a lot more options, and while the iPhone is definitely gaining traction in a lot of places in the world, it's not really gaining traction everywhere. So let's just, to get that out of the way, we're talking about the United States. First of all, the iPhone is the #1 selling smartphone in America. Actually, it's the #1 selling smartphone in the world, but we're talking about the US. And of course, if that's the case, then obviously people know other people with iPhones. And one of the things that I've noticed is once you've gone into an iPhone and have used one, and you have a friend group around you that also has an iPhone, it's very sticky. That is to say, once you get in there, you're probably not going back. So from that two-part thing I was talking about earlier, it's like the gateway drug. It's like your friends are doing it. They're like, hey, come over and try some of this Apple stuff. Puff, puff, pass. And while at first that might not be a big deal, when your upgrade comes, when you have an opportunity to go, and you have several people that are on iPhones constantly complaining about the group text that you're in and how you're messing it up, that's actually at least one reason that you might check it out. Another thing is Apple's marketing is really, really good. I mean, all you have to do is watch one of their commercials and you're like instantly seduced. By the way, let's just be clear. Sometimes they're just talking about something incredibly simple and just make it look super cool. I'll even admit that a lot of their commercials are kind of ridiculous, but every once in a while they'll put something out and make you really think about it. And then when you see the reviews, if you're online, about how good the camera is and how fast it is and all the things, listen, any person who has at least a little bit of curiosity about tech is at least curious about the other side of the fence. And in the tests that I've done on my channel, I've noticed that these people that I've tested with either A, never wanted anything to do with iOS, or B, was at least open to it. And by me asking them to do it, they both were willing to do it. And the thing is, again, if you have friends or family that are really into the ecosystem already, then opening that door isn't that bad. Now, once someone gets across that threshold and actually tries an iPhone, why do they stay? So as soon as you start using it and you realize that pretty much anything you can do on your Android phone, you can do on your iPhone, that alleviates a lot of stress. I've heard this multiple times from a lot of these tests I've done when I've had people swap phones. They always say the same thing. And remember, these are all the average consumer, the people that there's many more of than there are of us. They say, well, I can literally do everything I can do on my other phone on this phone. And then when they start using things like iMessage and FaceTime, a whole nother world opens up. Now, for people overseas, they always say, well, what about WhatsApp? What about this? Why does that matter? We don't even use text over there. But that's fine. Culturally, in America, we still use SMS, MMS, and now, of course, iMessage. iMessage is kind of like a built-in version of WhatsApp. And to ask people to install an app just to talk to other people is one step too far, unless you're like a social media company like Facebook or Instagram or something. And as an American and as someone who lives here, we have too many social media apps. So it's not like we want to add another one just to talk to people. And culturally, we're just kind of stubborn when it comes to that stuff. Text messages work, and now that we have iMessage with all the extra cool things, it seems even cooler. And the fact that it's integrated so well into the phone and native, which I can't say this enough, native things will keep you on an ecosystem. So you don't have to install anything. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's all one thing. People just want to be able to turn their phone on and have it work. And iMessage does that. And the high resolution videos and pictures and everything else that comes across is really one of the bigger selling points. You'll find that when Android people come to iOS, they notice that their pictures and videos on text messages or actually iMessages come through really high quality now and realize they've been missing something this entire time. Now, of course, there is RCS GPS and all this other stuff, which is great. But of course, not all carriers are supporting it. Not all phones are supporting it. If you have an old phone, you probably don't have it. That will hopefully change in the future. But as for right now, it's definitely a strength. Things like FaceTime are super popular now that they've basically made it like its own version of Zoom. You can have up to like 30 people on a call. You can even invite people on Android phones to an iPhone FaceTime call. I mean, that was a great move by Apple because you can't do it from Android to iPhone. You need to be invited in. And it's just an amazingly easy thing to do. It's just a video call. It's the same contact. It's not like you have to go into a new app. You don't. You literally can go into your contact and call, or you can be on a phone call and immediately switch it to a FaceTime call. It doesn't have to be a separate thing. Now, once someone gets across that threshold and actually tries an iPhone, why do they stay? Well, this is where Apple really gets you. Like, this is where they put you in their clutches and never let go. The ecosystem. You knew it was coming. Yes. After you buy an iPhone, if you buy anything else Apple, they start to flex their muscle, and it's very hard to leave. Trust me, I know. The Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, which I just reviewed recently, is one of the best Android phones I've put my hands on in a long time. I really like this phone. And if I wasn't in the Apple ecosystem, I would 100% switch back to this. But I have a MacBook, an iPad, AirPods, an iPhone. I'm stuck. And the ease of use of things like AirDrop, either between myself and someone else or between all of my technology, is something I don't want to give up. And I didn't have to install anything for it to work. It just works across all of these things. Everything, computer, tablet, earphones, my Apple TV. It's all integrated. It's crazy. And yes, with Android and some things for Samsung, you can get a lot of that same integration if you install some stuff. But this is just native. I can't get this across strongly enough. And you'll see this in some of the videos I've done. Native beats everything. If you have a native app for something or a native way of doing it, so they don't have to install anything, it becomes second nature to use it. Now, the interesting thing is, if you have something that's really cool, but you have to install an app for it, you will get some people to install that app. But most people won't even know about it because they're not really looking to add more apps to their phone. They have plenty. And with the iPhone, a lot of the things they'll use on a day-to-day basis are already built in. I've seen some major moves by Samsung with this phone, though. I think the gap is really close right now. But ultimately, the thing that most people use their phone for, the iPhone accelerates that and does it in a really easy way. Now, it's definitely not as customizable. It's definitely not as techy. It's definitely not as cool in a lot of ways as an Android phone. 100% agree with that. But most people don't care because one of the number one reasons people will go to and stay with an iPhone is it just works. Now that's going to trigger some people because they think, well, of course, so does an Android phone. It just works. Yeah, most of the time it does. And you know, that's the thing, is that it just works for some people. And for people who just don't want those extra features, the 27 layers of settings that a lot of Samsung phones have, the iPhone is just a win. You don't have to worry about those things because it's already done. And for people to not have to try to figure things out, which is why there's no like in-depth pro mode on the iPhone, at least not to the degree of like a Samsung phone, it's important to know that most people don't care. They just want something that works. Now, once you get used to all of this stuff, or you have an ecosystem, or you have a bunch of friends on an iPhone, it's difficult to really figure out a reason to go back to Android. Again, not that you couldn't or shouldn't, or some people don't. A lot of people in my comment section have gone from the iPhone to Android and are super happy, and I totally get it. They totally should be. But this video talks about why people are going from something that seems superior in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways it is, to an iPhone. Another reason that I think of, at least two more, that people will stay in Apple. Their phone value tends to stay higher with an iPhone. Now, it's hard to argue this. It's just kind of true. It's demonstrably true. And for people that want to hold onto their phones for a long period of time, not only is that value good, but they're also getting updates for years and years to come. Something that Samsung's just now getting around to, and Google's trying to get caught up as well. But Apple still leads the way here. They are giving support for like 6 years on OS updates and security updates. If you're going to invest in a phone, there's no better reason than to be able to keep it for many years to come. My audience, of course, will switch out every 1 to 2 to 3 years, but your average consumer, most of the people that are buying phones nowadays aren't. And having that longevity is a powerful, powerful thing. Having said that, there's a ton of reasons why you should maybe think about going from an iPhone to an Android phone, which I will cover in a future video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and watch these videos. They're really compelling. I love this video series offering people a chance to switch. And I'll see you next time. Peace and love.